So I want to talk about value creation and value capture. So what am I talking about value creation and value capture? I was really thinking about how to create something that a lot of people actually like. And people are willing to pay money for this particular thing, right? So there's only a certain amount of value that's ever created whenever you create something that's new or different. And we have to sort of figure out how much we should take of that value from the pie, right? There is a certain amount of, you create a new widget or you sell something on the marketplace. Let's say, for example, you have a donut and you created a new donut and you want to figure out how to value this particular donut, right? So you could take 100% of the value. The problem is when you take 100% of the value, right? So what people are willing to pay for this particular thing, like say, like you add it all up and people get $100 of joy from eating this donut, right? And you can actually sort of figure this out by looking at what people are willing to pay for it, right? So you ratchet it up, you sort of go, you say, hey, would you be willing to pay $100 for this donut? If they're willing to pay $100 for this donut, then then you got to figure out like how much of that $100 you should take. So as somebody that's creating something for the first time, should you take away or should you charge $100 for this donut? And so most of the time, most people would say, yeah, that's what you should do. The problem is if you do that, it's not going to create people that are going to be really happy about the thing that you are creating, right? So this donut is not necessarily going to create a lot of joy for everybody because they're paying $100 for this thing, right? So you want to make sure that there's always value that's left on the table. And the more value that's left on the table, the more excited people get about this particular thing. So the goal is to create as much value for everybody else, right? So that ultimately that's what you're trying to do, is create value for everybody else such that you can make them super happy. Now, why do you want to make them super happy? The reason is if you make them super happy, they're going to go and tell all their friends. They're going to be ecstatic about this particular thing. You're going to create a community. People are going to be really, really excited about the value that is being provided, right? Like if you go and you're giving away donuts that are worth $100, that's going to create a pretty big crowd very quickly, right? People are going to get really, really excited and they're going to want to show up at your place, right? And that's the goal, is to do that, is to make it sort of as big as possible. But here is the trouble, is that if you give all of this value away and you don't take any of that, then pretty soon you're going to run out of resources to provide this value for everybody. So the goal is to sort of figure out how much that you should capture of this value that's being created, right? And so you ratchet up what is the value that's being, how much you should capture. And the goal is you want to sort of find the balance between how much you're actually creating, and you want to create a lot, right? As much as you possibly can. And then figure out how much you should take away such that you can reinvest within your company. Because the goal is to create this growing business that it provides more and more and more and more value, right? So here's the trick, right? There's short run and long run value. You can provide free donuts one day, and it might be really fun to be able to do this, have as much free donuts in a day, but it's going to run out, right? You're going to run out of all of those resources and you're going to be broke, right? So the goal is to make sure that you're always reinvesting such that in the long run, you can provide more and more value, and it grows and grows and grows. So how much you take away should be going towards your company. Eventually it should be going towards your salary and all of those kind of things so that you're kind of recuperating some of the value that's being created. Ultimately, you want to feel that you're benefiting from this, right? Like humans want to benefit from this value that's being created. And so you sort of balance this to figure out what is the right amount for you. So for my recommendation, I think you should always try to create as much value as possible, right? That's the goal. Create as much value as possible. And then figure out what is the minimum that you can sort of take away so that you can benefit in the long run. And so everybody else can benefit. And the goal is to balance this So the goal is what's going to happen is that there's only a certain amount of value that's being created at the beginning. And the goal is to make it bigger and bigger and bigger, such that at the end, the thing that you're creating is really, really amazing, right? And this, if you're thinking about the value creation and capture, kind of gets away from sort of the sleaziness of, I'm going to extract as much value as possible. But what you're thinking of, how can I create something that is going to provide as much possible value, maybe not today, but in the long run? So the goal is to add all that up, compound it all up, such that you're creating a tremendous amount of value over the long run. And as you do that, then you'll realize that you're actually going to do a lot of different decisions by, not extracting as much value as you possibly can today, creating as much as you possibly can, but then, incrementally growing that so you can do better. And there's moments where you could see that, they probably took too much value from the situation, right? Like, Facebook, recently, right? In the last couple of years, so it's 2022, in probably the last 4 or 5 years, they've been taking too much value. And that's why people have been giving a lot of flack to them. And I hope that they change some of their ways. You're going to start seeing some of this stuff. And I'm starting to see a little bit inkling with this, that some of the value they're sort of changing their position there. Because they're just extracting so much that people just got upset. And that's what's going to happen. You have to find that fine balance so that you can grow and invest and do well, but then also figure out how you can, continuously provide value over the long run. And so my goal, and for what I would suggest, is always serve everybody else and do a really good job of helping everybody else. And then as you come back to it, as it grows and does better, you incrementally sort of move that up, right? So you extract a little bit more until you find that sort of right balance that fits for you and your lifestyle and fits for everybody else, so that it continues to grow and do better. All right, hopefully this helps you out. It's an important part and an important lesson to think about. So if it does, give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care and have a wonderful day.